Hey, this is Katie with Wildflower Homeschool and Tiny House Homestead, and I am wanting to give you some frugal pet care tips. This is going to come from the perspective of dogs, just because that's what I have, but it can be applied to other types of pets as well. First, I want to say that pets do cost money and they can be expensive. So before you decide to get a pet, you definitely want to make sure that you can afford to take care of it. But there are some frugal ways that you can save money and not compromise the health of your pet. So my first tip is regarding vet care. Vets are a business and they are there to make money, and some vets are a little bit more ethical in the way that they charge you than others. Some vets recommend more vaccinations than are required, and some vets charge you for like unnecessary testing when you bring your pet in every year for their annual exam. For example, like a 1 to 2 year old young healthy dog, in my opinion, doesn't need a full blood panel done every year when you go to the vet. That is a waste of money, in my opinion. I also, when I vaccinate my pets, I do their puppy shots and a 1 year shot. They're shot at 1 year, and then I don't vaccinate until I do every 3 years after that. So I do not vaccinate every year because studies have shown that those vaccines last more than just 1 year. The vet, in a lot of cases, just likes to charge you for that annual vaccine because that's how they make money. And that's how they also get you into the vet for that yearly checkup. So, you know, ask around different vets in your area. I would get online and ask and try and get recommendations, and call different vets and get a pricing sheet, find out if they charge an office visit, which is like just how much they charge you just to walk in the door. Some vets don't do that, but vet pricing, at least in my area, can vary greatly. A spay or neuter, let's say a spay at one clinic can be $150, but at the clinic down the road it can be $450. So it just depends on the vet. So definitely shop around on your vet care. Flea medicine is another one. Again, this is kind of like depending on your area, but some fleas are worse in some areas than in other areas, and it can also be seasonal. So I would not recommend that every single person use the highest quality flea repellent. Really the healthiest thing for you to do if you don't have a really bad flea problem in your area is to try to go more natural. Maybe use some essential oils to spray on your dog, or some people put apple cider vinegar in their dog's water and it helps repel fleas. But there's a lot of natural ways that you can help repel fleas. Now, if you live in an area that does have a bad flea problem, especially during the summer, I live in the South, so during the summer I do have to use a higher quality flea medication. But I would start out with the cheapest thing that you can get and kind of work your way up and see what works, because fleas are building up a resistance to a lot of the flea medicines. So the $5 stuff from Walmart honestly works just as well as something more expensive, some name brand topical flea medicine. So I would start out with the cheap stuff and see if it works for your pet. For me, I live in Tennessee and we have a really bad flea problem in the summer, so I do use the more expensive flea pill. I use NexGard during the summer, but during the winter I use a little bit more natural stuff. If it's cold outside, we don't have any fleas, so I don't use the expensive stuff 12 months out of the year. So you can kind of play around with that and see what works for your pet, but you don't necessarily have to use the expensive flea medicine all the time. Another thing is feeding. You can buy really cheap food from the grocery store, but really in the long run it's not going to really save you any money because your dog's going to eat more of the cheap food. It has a lot more fillers in it, a lot less nutrients per pound of food, so they're going to be eating more, they're going to be pooping more, and they're going to be more prone to other health issues like allergies or ear infections, long-term health issues like joint problems, especially in larger breed dogs. So you do want to feed a quality food, and that is more than likely going to save you money in the long run. There's a website, I believe it's called petfoodadvisory.com, but I'll link it below, and you can go on there and check out the quality of different foods. I try and get something that's at least 4 out of 5 stars. It doesn't have to be the most expensive stuff, but you definitely are going to want to get something that's a little bit higher quality, so it will save you money in the long run. There's like flies everywhere. Okay, you can also supplement your dog's food with human food. I know, like, you hear people say don't give your dog table scraps, but there actually are healthy table scraps, and some food that we eat is fine for dogs. Fresh fruits and vegetables, most of them. There are some things that you don't want to give your dog, like grapes or onions, but there's a lot of foods that are healthy for your dogs. Potatoes are great, different types of meats are great. You don't want to give them any cooked bones, but raw bones are okay. You can look around and give your dog some scrap food to help supplement their diet and it be healthy for them. For grooming, the ideal situation is to have a breed that doesn't need to be groomed. But if you do have a breed that needs to be groomed, or, all breeds need to have their toenails cut and their ears cleaned out and their teeth cleaned and stuff like that, you can do that stuff at home. There's tons of YouTube videos, even for the more hairy breeds, that you can watch and learn how to even shave your dog down if you want to, or do some styling if you're interested in doing that. But you can definitely learn how to groom your dogs at home. I have been doing my dogs for years, and my dogs are a breed that require pretty much a full groom, and that's just something that I have learned to do on my own. If you do need to go to a groomer, groomers are expensive. They're expensive for a reason. I have several groomer friends. It's a hard job, so don't try and gyp your groomer. Be very appreciative of what they do, because it is a difficult job, and tip them well. But you can do things that, 1, might make your groomer charge you less, and 2, can lengthen the time in between grooming appointments. Some of those things are: make sure that you brush your dog, even if if you regularly brush your dog, they're not going to get matted, and they're not going to get hot, and all their dead fur is not going to get trapped close to their skin, and it's not going to irritate their skin. So keeping your dog brushed. You can learn to cut your dog's toenails pretty easily, and especially with larger breeds, if you have them walk on some concrete, it'll naturally help grind their nails down so they don't have to be cut as often. And do things like, you can clean your dog's ears out, you can brush their teeth, clean their teeth, make sure that they're chewing on bones that'll help clean their teeth. But definitely practice some grooming things at home yourself. Okay, pet sitting is also something that is really expensive. If you plan on going out of town, you're going to have to plan for a place for your pet to go, or somebody to come to your house to take care of them, or ideally maybe you can take your pet with you. But those are definitely things that you need to consider, because boarding your pet at a boarding facility does get very expensive. One option is to maybe trade pet sitting jobs with one of your friends. Agree to watch their pet if they agree to watch yours, but kind of barter and trade with the pet sitting, because boarding is very expensive. You can also make your pet their own toys. If you've got an old t-shirt, you can cut it up and tie it into like a rope toy. There are tons of cool little things that you can Google for making your own pet toy, but you don't have to buy pet toys at the store. Maybe old stuffed animals from a yard sale or something like that. Okay, let's talk now about acquiring a pet if you don't already have one. There are two main options for acquiring a pet. You can either rescue one or get one from a breeder. Both of them are valid options. Rescuing is great, but some people do want a purebred puppy from a breeder, which is fine too. It just depends on how you go about getting a pet. So the most cost-effective, economical way to get a pet is to go to an animal shelter, because when you go to the animal shelter, they have a low adoption fee, and the pet is generally already had all of its shots, it's spayed or neutered, it's heartworm tested, started on heartworm preventative, flea and tick preventative, it's ready to go. You could also go on a website or somewhere like Craigslist and get a free pet, but that is going to cost you more money because the pet will need to go to the vet and probably have vaccinations and maybe be fixed, have a heartworm test and stuff like that. So that is probably going to cost you a little bit of money. Now, the next expensive choice is to go to a breeder. There are different types of breeders, and the only breeder that I would recommend is a reputable breeder. They're going to charge a little bit more than other breeders, but they're going to have health tested the parents. You're going to get a health guarantee. The puppies are going to have been vet checked. The breeder has taken the time to make sure that the puppies are well socialized and are getting the best health care and nutrition and everything from the very beginning. So in the long run, you are going to have a better idea of what the health issues of this dog might be. So, you know, that's an okay route to go if you're okay paying more money up front. Definitely do not go to a breeder that is selling an inexpensive purebred puppy or designer mix and is just looking to make money and has not given any consideration to the parents and the breeding. Definitely research a whole lot before you go and buy a purebred puppy. Those are my frugal tips. If you have anything to add, definitely leave it in the comments below. I hope this was helpful. Pets do cost money, and you definitely don't want to be too cheap about it, but you can save money, and it doesn't have to be super expensive to have a pet. So thank you guys so much for watching.